evening, everybody. We are here at we're going to have a special board meeting, but first of all, we are going to have a hearing in regards to some bids that were taken. I just want to say that in many of the contracts that we look at, contractors will submit what they want as far as the specifications and the product. In this case, we hired a professional company, De Novo and CMB Architects, to make a specification, an exact set of plans that bidders had to adhere to in order to bid this phase one bid packages. And so whoever wanted to bid had to do the same exact thing. So the only thing on the table tonight really is the numbers, because everything was specified exactly the way we wanted it and proved it. And so the hearing is on that bid letting that happened last Wednesday, I think March 8th, on issuance 1 on several different packages. And so this Board of Education public hearing, March 13th, 5:15, is, so I guess we'll start out by calling the meeting to order and determine that we do have a quorum, and everybody's here except Monty. And so we want to open it up to the public because these bids were publicly opened, and so everybody could see what the numbers were. And we'd like to invite the public to have any comments on it, and afterwards we'll have a specific meeting to discuss it amongst the board. Any questions? Or?
Just need to approve the agenda.
Okay, yes, number 1, we need to approve the agenda. Could we have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved by Joni.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, no? Okay, here we go. We welcome all the visitors, and we would take any input from anybody that would like to input.
We gotta present first.
Excuse me?
We gotta present first, and then we get input, right?
Yeah, okay. So we present the bids? Is that?
The public hearing is on the drawings, the specifications, and not the actual bids that came in. So we'll just talk a little bit about what the project entailed, and that will be that. So
Okay. I stand corrected as you noted. Thank you.
So this issuance 1 was specifically built around the auditorium upgrades. So this included new seating, new carpet, new paint, and really giving the auditorium a really nice facelift. Found through design that we made the decision to take down the gypsum ceiling that was up there to remove asbestos that's within the building. So that will help help the management plan there to reduce the amount of asbestos, and then really upgrading the house lighting and the dimming rack. So bringing it up to the 21st century and being able to improve it and add on later for new technology coming through. So making the stage accessible from inside the auditorium. So 2 calipers that'll go straight from the back doors to the level stage, and then also adding handrails up to the sound booth in the back, because right now it currently does not have that. So, and then this also included re-roofing a number of sections on the high school that need it, and additionally this package includes adding fire sprinkler to the entire building, which the rest of the renovations will come in the next package. I believe that's it. Did I miss anything?
That's correct.
All right.
And I believe the metal panels will all be replaced in the high school as part of
That's
this.
the next
issuance.
issuances. So that you're not involved with this issuance 1,
Okay.
but that's coming, absolutely.
Yep. Any questions?
We've sat in lots of meetings, so. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've heard it all many times, so if you guys have questions, shoot, 'cause
Well, any surprises so far? Or are you allowed to? I mean,
cut right to
when
the
did we
chase.
discussing the bids at all? When did we discuss the bids?
After the public
Hearing?
hearing. Yep.
So did we know there was asbestos in the ceiling?
We did.
Yes, we did.
So
Okay.
we had a full asbestos report, like an abatement report done for the school by a separate entity.
Oh, okay.
through previous reports that have happened before we were involved in the project, we knew there was asbestos in the building. But we have a team come in and take test samples from all different materials in the school, and they determine exactly where in the school asbestos containing material is. And then they come up with an abatement plan and then tie that to our phase project approach. So essentially, the area we're gonna be renovating, that would be the area of their phase one abatement where they'd remove anything asbestos containing.
Okay. And then you said the sprinklers, do we not have sprinklers?
It
Everywhere or just some
Just the high
places?
school.
But I mean, in the building,
The high school as a whole
it has
has
none?
no sprinkler.
Okay,
Currently, the middle school is sprinkled.
okay.
But so there's a firewall between the middle school and the high school. So now the entire
Building?
building will be sprinkled. Yep.
Okay.
Up to NFPA or, current day standards along with an updated fire alarm. Yep.
So I don't think I heard, when you were talking about the scope of the phase one, I don't think I heard the word electrical in your, where does that come in?
Oh,
That's the dimming rack, that's the lighting.
okay, that's the dimming
the
and
electrical
lighting.
scope of
Okay.
work within the auditorium,
Okay,
yes.
Yep.
so that's this, okay, first phase electrical is just that part.
Yep, it is not in phase, or not phase two, issuance two, there will be a full electrical service upgrade. And then because we're removing the metal walls, all that electrical is gonna get replaced with new panels and new wiring.
Great.
And the projected realistic start date on the auditorium?
We would go into contracting immediately after awarding the bidders,
Okay,
and that's when we call construction started.
and that's when you start, okay.
And about how long is the project?
We are projecting our substantial completion date to be the end of September, I believe, at this point.
And then nobody will be in the auditorium working until May.
May 8th, we would start abatement. We have a plan in place where a local team would be removing the seating. I think that's been worked out through the school and a contact. So basically, we have a clean slate without seats to start work in, but that's the date at which we're giving them to get the seats out, which is also relative to the last day the auditorium is needed for a school function, I believe April 30th.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn, and then we'll get into the regular meeting and we can discuss a lot more details about prices and, excuse me?
Comments from the public?
Oh, yeah, well, I think, yeah, comments from the public, yes, we would like to have comments from the public.
Thank you.
Jay?
RJ. Okay, we just wanted to make sure we cross the bridge, thank you. And so, would somebody like to make a motion? We'll move on to the meeting.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Moved by Al and Joe seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And so we will open here the special meeting of March 13th to the board. And again, we welcome everybody here. And we do have a quorum, so we'll call the meeting to order. And note that this is a public forum. So did we have anybody here, Catherine, that
No,
wanted
sir.
to speak at the meeting? So we'll move on to item C, approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Greg,
Second?
seconded by Joni. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. So we are going to be talking about the bids, and we can talk more about the particular construction details. I do want to say, I'll discuss that with you also, but in 1978, I founded a roofing company with a guy by the name of Bill Livengood. And so I was in the roofing business many years, and now, and back in 2004-ish, I sold it to my son and son-in-law. And so I have nothing to do with it, but I'm going to recuse myself from the vote so that there's no conflicts and all transparency. So I might have something to say, but I won't vote, so just to let you know. So I'll open it up to Patrick, if you'd like to explain from
Yeah.
here.
Thanks, Jim. I guess I'll let.
Yeah, we can kick this off. So we wanted to talk a little bit about our bid solicitation process as it relates to the issuances that are coming out. This one's specific to issuance one. This process entails, prior to distributing the documents, you've contacted what would be qualified primes that we see as qualified within the area or within the region that can do this work. So as part of that, some of that's internal knowledge just based on past contractors that have been, part of the K-12 environment. Some of it's, reaching out to new contractors in the area, what have you, but it's creating that initial list just internally. We did that. I think we had between 6 and 10 potential primes for every prime package. So then it's calling them, asking them if they have the labor capacity, if it's something they'd be interested in general. Some companies won't touch a project under a certain value, so to disqualify them right away. Through that process, you narrow down the list to who you are considering high likelihood bidders. Following that process, you distribute your documents. You finished up your construction documents, and they are submitted to what we call an online plan room. Our particular plan room is from Beeline and Blue. They're out of Des Moines. Essentially what that is you submit all of your construction documents to this plan room, and they blast this out to a network of contractors that are either subscribed to their system or are what are Iowa qualified contractors. This ensures the greatest distribution we can get within the state. This is a snapshot from what we see on the plan holder's website. We can go to this, and at any point after they've been distributed, you just click on plan holders and you can scroll all the way through the list, and it is an up-to-date tally of who has downloaded the documents. So this doesn't indicate that they are bidding, but it indicates they were interested enough to download all the documents and start looking through it. One of our biggest responsibilities is cross-checking those who have said they're going to bid against this list, because if they haven't downloaded the documents, it's a high likelihood that they're not going to bid. So we went through this process. This then also gets blasted to other plan rooms. So you'll note on here plan rooms from Minnesota and Nebraska and other places where they are also connected to Beeline and Blue. So then they send it out to their network of contractors. So it's a quick way to get this as wide as possible.
So I mean, this was just a snipping, so it's like 3 pages long.
Right.
And as you can see, ARC, Baiting, Bizco, and those were, Bizco is a sub to Baiting, I believe, is who they're going to use. So the people that were on here were the people that showed up and actually put numbers in on bid day. Mm-hmm. And that was us calling, saying, hey, this is coming up. Stephen reminding, hey, bids are coming up in a day or two. Making sure that they were at the pre-bid, making sure that because of weather, our pre-bid moved, even though a couple people still came. So,
it's ensuring bonding. Bonding's a big lift for contractors. You need to have the capacity to do it. So that's also something very important. If you don't have your bond, if you don't have your security in the envelope that we open, we're not even going to open your bid. So it's calling to verify those type of details to make sure they're doing this process correctly. So there's no issues. The only thing you have to do is look at the number they've submitted.
I think one thing that Stephen has done really good was to cast a broad net to get as many people engaged in this project as we can. But the other thing I wanted to let you know is that we also follow Iowa Code Chapter 26, I believe it is, where we have to put out public notices of improvements for the facilities, along with the public hearing that you just completed. So all those check boxes have been checked according to Iowa Code to follow this process.
This is our bid tab. This is what's created after our bid letting. So you get all your bids in. They have a number of things to check off, what bid package they're in. They do have their bid security. They recognize the addendum. The addendum are any revisions we make to the construction documents after it's distributed. One addendum was purely tied to the pre-bid meeting. Weather was coming up. We were going to change our time. We had to submit an addendum to do that formally. So they acknowledge all of those, and then you have their base bid. We've structured this so it's in order by bid package as you work down the list. The top 3 would all be for the same package. The next one is on its own, then you have the next 2, the next 4, and then the one at the bottom. So this is what our bid tab looks like for all of the packages that tie to this issuance 1, auditorium, re-roofs, and fire sprinkler. So this is what we're calling our recommendation. Our recommendation is to approve the 4 highlighted in green. This would be bid package A, would be for Baiting Construction. Bid package B would be for Midwest Automatic Fire Sprinkler. Bid package C for Elevate Roofing. And bid package D for H2I Group. That's tied to the fixed audience seating, so that's the chairs in the auditorium. We are proposing to reject the bid for bid package E.
Because
We received one bid. We were dependent on another funding source for that particular package. That's tied to theatrical equipment, so that'd be like stage curtains and a mobile stair unit. We only received one, and we do not have that funding fully in place yet. So we are proposing that is rejected.
And that will be an easy one to put back out.
later,
Yep,
Correct.
Once we get that in place, that'll be an easy one to put back
because
out.
that's something at the end of the,
Yep.
And will not delay construction.
And will it be to our advantage cost-wise?
We believe so.
That's
That's our
we'd like to
position.
hear.
Yep. Yep.
If I read this right, bid package B only had one,
Correct.
and, okay.
Bid package B, so yes, it only had one. Bid package B is tied to probably the busiest contractors over the summer, if you look at it as a whole of a fire sprinkler contractor in Iowa. The good news is how we've structured the project accommodates that labor availability through the summer, because most of their work happens towards the end or the fall as part of this particular phase.
And where our estimate was specifically for that package, what came in on bid day was below that by
Under budget.
150,000.
Thank you, I didn't know how to phrase that.
Yes,
Automatically.
yes, yep.
Are you guys just soaking it in? These guys have done a really good job with every variable imaginable, and that's why I guess we don't have a ton of questions, because we've sat and heard
They're detailed.
so many things, and they have done an excellent job at emailing, calling, being here. So I feel like we're not holding our end of the deal by asking a ton of questions, me specifically, because I usually have so many, but I've asked them.
And they're all good.
They are all good. But I've asked them, so I think, I mean, if you guys have questions, definitely ask them, because these guys have been awesome in so many things.
And so Greg, Jade, and I are on the building committee, and we met a few minutes after the bid here. And I guess we should, what do we have to say, building committee?
I don't know. No, we came in a little over budget, but we have planned, broken everything down, planned things out. Trying to make certain that we get our future bids to hit.
And what was that number that we were over by on this first part of the budget? Or
About 500,000.
Is that counting the Heartland?
No.
Okay.
So I guess the question, from the building committee to the construction manager was, do you feel that May, when we get in the final bids for phase 2, well, I guess not, we call it issuance 2 and issuance 3, if we'll be in, I mean, the whole goal of the board is to build what we promised the school district for the money we promised the school district, and there's pieces to be moved in this whole project, and whether you feel like you can get that accomplished by May, I think it's really a broad and important question, isn't it?
We do feel confident with the path that we have laid forward and explained to the building committee, the facilities committee, that we are still on path for providing that project to the school district and to the community.
Yeah, we recognize 500,000 is a lot over on a 2.2 million.
Correct.
So it is significant, and you might even say that Logan had kind of a surprise, did you say last week that their...
Last Thursday was another school bid that went out. They were substantially over budget.
But we've got you guys.
That's right. We're not on that one.
No, and there were things tied to this one, specifically the dimming equipment, some of that electrical equipment. It was specialty that came in more than anticipated, and that's not a part of the upcoming projects.
Almost
that are
everything
gonna
else,
get bid.
you guys were pretty much on point with. This is one area that is it's exclusive to this
To the auditorium.
this project. Or this.
And I think
Set
we're
bids.
doing our due diligence by not accepting everything because we're so tenacious to get something done. I think it's important that we're looking at the numbers, looking at what we can reasonably and feasibly follow through with, and not just pushing things because we think it'll look good in the end or whatever. So I agree with them that it doesn't change, by not accepting this one right now, it doesn't change time frame and it doesn't change scope of work. It just changes that we need to get it back out, like you said, to some other people and see if we can get some more bids on it.
And what's the total of phase 2 and phase 3 that'll be coming up by May?
Our budget estimate as of right now for issuance 2, which would be the balance of the high school renovation, is just under 10 million. And for phase 3, which is the new intermediate school, the demolition of the old one, and the playground, is coming in just over 12.
Thank you. What do you think about it, Brian? I'd like to get your thoughts.
I think we have a definite path forward. I think we're early enough in the project. The thing that, when I visited with these guys last week, the thing that probably, yes, we're over on the auditorium, but the good news, it comes from a product that we're not going to be utilizing in the other. I think the exact conversation I had with Stephen is, well, the good news, it wasn't flooring, because that carries over to the other parts of the project. It wasn't drywall, that carries over to the other parts of the project. It wasn't paint, which carries over to the other parts of the project. So it's nice to know at least it was something that was exclusive to just this part of the phase. And I definitely think we have alternatives that we can, to make up the difference there.
Superintendent Barnett?
I would agree. I mean, just those same things that we discussed. We do want to make sure that the auditorium is a good project and looks good. The abatement was something that, once we got in there, it was more than we thought. We knew there was asbestos. We didn't know we were gonna have to take the ceiling down. So the idea that when we have the new building, we won't have surprises because it's a new building. So we won't go in and find something that we weren't sure about. So that's gives us a little more comfort as well. But I think we've discussed alternatives if we need to go to those, and we feel comfortable with those.
You guys make us comfortable too.
Yes,
They know what they're doing.
absolutely they make us, that's, I'm pointing to them, yes.
I slept
absolutely.
well that night, even though
Yeah.
the bids came in a little more than we thought.
Yes.
Because I knew they'd figure it out.
Yes.
What kind of things loom out there that are really unknowns? Does interest rate play a key piece of this, or is that kind of factored in comfortably?
Well, you're kind of crossing into a little thing, which would be the financing
Right.
plan, but we had a conversation with Travis earlier today, Jenny and I, and she will be bringing up, before we adjourn here, that we are going to have a work session on the remainder of the financing plan. But Travis Squires seemed very comfortable where we're at.
Okay.
He didn't see any real red flags.
Yeah, good.
I think ultimately we talked about in the facilities committee that we're doing and making the decisions that need to be made that will, number one, positively impact student learning and, positively impact the people using those facilities. So as long as we keep those things in mind, we're taking what we have and just trying to positively impact education for future generations. That is the premise under which we're making those decisions under, so.
That's why it got passed.
Right.
That's good.
Concerns, Joe? Joni? Questions?
Well, I think you've already answered this, but obviously we're taking the lowest bid on all of them, but obviously you are confident that is the correct one, skill-wise.
Talking to the qualification process,
Yes,
so yes, part of our next step is to get through contracting with these teams. These particular teams, we would already qualify, just because we know who they are. But we will go through that formal contracting process to ensure there's no issues. But no one was selected that we don't know.
That's what I didn't think. If you weren't confident in their work, you probably wouldn't have them as a choice.
These particular ones that won were ones that came out of our direct list prior to the plan holder. So there's no one on this list that we didn't reach out to prior to the bid process.
Okay.
And besides this, you also require for performance bond and a labor and material payment bond that gives us, so their result is insured, otherwise we go back to the insurance company. Sure. Explain
So-
that.
Yep, so as part of the bid process, every one of the bidders on here has to submit a bid bond, which is 5% of the base bid that they bid. So that means that until the point that we award this and have an actual contract in hand, that if they decide they do not want to fulfill the contract, if awarded to them, the school would be able to keep that. So that's either a cashier's check or a bond made out to the district. So for the ones that are listed in green, we will now move forward into contracting, and part of that is to get their payment, performance, labor, and material bonds in place, which is in 100% of the bid amount. So if any point after that, they decide to pull off the project or not show up, the insurance will be responsible, and that bond is responsible for making the school whole and moving forward with that project. So that's the two pieces in place that are help you feel secure, or the security that's in
Okay.
a part of it.
It was a good question, Jody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like to say that I'm glad that we have done this the way we've done it. I'm very comfortable with having the Novo company here. I mean, you guys have instilled a lot of confidence in us, and I think it seems like we've done really good work. And I've watched the committee members that we put in place here on a high learning curve, and even as smart as they all are, they've learned a lot, and then have really been able to express that too.
You pushing it.
I just want to publicly say thank you to you guys, because I know that there's a lot of hours have gone into this that we don't even know about, but so you've been able to communicate that well, and I'm pretty, I think I also will sleep well tonight because of the work that you guys have all done, so thank you.
Because it's important to all of us. There's not a single person
Absolutely.
sitting here that doesn't take this on a personal level. This isn't
Big
flippant.
deal.
This
Yeah.
is not something that we're just spending other people's money. It's very personal, so I hope everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Would someone like to make a motion?
We have one more bid tab to work through. This is actually the abatement. So abatement was bid separately by our abatement consultant. They're a direct contractor to the district. So that was the same team that created the abatement plan, identified the asbestos containing material, and then also theirs was a direct bid, so a competitive bid process to a number of different contractors they've identified are the most qualified to take care of this. There happens to be a ton of abatement contractors, some less desirable than others. They bid this directly to who they feel are best qualified. The budget for this, you'll see the estimate and their recommendation. They're recommending, let's see, the
Earth Services abatement.
Earth Services abatement, which is going to be the first yellow column right here. They came in at $102,000. They are recommending to move forward with the base bid, which includes abatement of the areas included in our first phase. They also had an alternate bid to abate areas that surround that initial phase of construction work but aren't included in our renovation. So an example of that would be like the band room. They provided a cost to abate all of the material in those spaces. So essentially at the end of the day, the school is 100% asbestos free. We don't have those areas under our renovation scope of work as of right now. So we would recommend that.
The materials that would be coming out as part of the abatement, we don't have those materials going back in as new. there is work happening, the HVAC is happening in those spaces, so.
Correct.
I don't want you to say, wait, no, these aren't happening.
Yeah, you're getting
but-
sprinkler and.
Right, yeah, yep.
But say there's asbestos containing flooring material, I don't know what it is, but, and when we can look that up on our plan, we don't have budget right now to put new flooring back in, because that hasn't been counted. This is good to have in your back pocket and to reevaluate after issuances 2 and 3. Our recommendation would be to move forward with the base bid for the earth services and abatement team.
Okay, so that bid is to remove all the asbestos in, No.
Within our current phase. So that
Okay.
removes the asbestos containing material within our phase 1 of the renovation.
which is auditorium.
We'll have another one of these for the next phases, for the subsequent
You should have
phases.
3 total.
Yep.
So
And
it,
that's just for one of the 3, or is that for all?
That's one of the 3.
That's one of the 3.
And it's under budget.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's just to
You start
remove
messing with
the
the
asbestos.
percentage and then, or,
Okay.
That's one part of it.
let's find
Okay.
numbers that.
So is this the ceiling of the auditorium?
That includes the ceiling of the auditorium. There's some floor mastic to take care of. I'd have to look at the list, but there's a number of items that are
In
supposed
where
to be.
is the floor mastic? Is it in the auditorium?
I'll have to look at the plan to identify it correctly, but there's some of that carpet in there was identified as asbestos containing mastic.
Is the majority, the ceiling is the big cost?
Ceiling's the biggest one for sure.
Okay. Now, is there any, this doesn't include anything at the intermediate school, correct?
Correct.
Is there any asbestos in the?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Is it
really?
ceiling or floor?
Yes.
A lot. All of the above.
That was 65, that they built that? And they built that affordably. That was a affordable,
What year
yes.
did you say?
65.
65, is
Oh,
that right?
middle, no, I'm thinking
Not
the-
primary, the intermediate, the current intermediate
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
replacing.
Westridge.
Okay, I'm thinking of the middle
Which one?
school
On
that's
the.
attached.
You're thinking attached there,
Middle
no?
school, I don't.
There's no asbestos.
There, I don't
Oh,
think there's any
okay.
on the report.
Oh, okay, because that's what
Not
I
middle
was.
and not primary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neither one.
So even though you're gonna knock it down, you still have to get
maybe
rid
Can't
they're
of
knock
it?
them down, because once
Anytime
you
you touch
disturb
it,
it,
yeah.
that's the problem with the
So they have to go in there,
See.
remove it before they
First.
demolish it.
It can sit
For those of
idle
us that
forever,
live
and never
there,
cause
there
a
you
problem,
go.
but you start demolishing,
Thank you.
Then you have to
issues.
do
So
it.
you have to go and remove.
Oh,
So
thank
pretty good
you.
spread and under our estimate of 135,000.
And on the total thing, it says here that you're estimating 423,000 on phase 1, 2, and 3, is that?
As a whole.
Is that the idea? And so this alternative that might be possible in the future, is there any kind of a number on that?
There is, that came in at 40, just under 46,000.
I see, so there's quite a little bit other, and that's in
But that's a-
the high school.
But that 46,000 would leave us with materials we would have to
You're right,
replace.
I understand, yeah, got you, right, thank you.
That's not in any of our.
Right.
I've been to a couple of buildings and grounds conferences, and actually Shive Hattery, who is doing our contracting, is actually who the speakers that I went and saw. But they would be pretty clear that if you don't have to disturb it, don't disturb it. And I would definitely say, and given the fact that you have to go back and replace something that they're going to remove, that's something that can be tackled at a different day.
We won't be disturbing it with HVAC,
You will not.
so
because it's on the outside.
that line item 3, in the alternate bids, so, abate asbestos
Floor
containing
tile.
floor
Oh,
tile
yeah.
and mastic. We're not touching the floors in there. It would just be if they got in there and we're taking that
So it
out.
wouldn't be in the
Not in the
ceiling
ceiling
in that
area.
area.
Well,
Well,
Gotcha.
there's ceiling tile that may contain asbestos in that area, but
Gotcha.
those ceiling tiles just, yes.
Stay.
So
Because
those
the-
just stay in place, correct.
Because the choir band and, I think that's just in the hallway, but the choir band and art room don't have a lay-in ceiling, so those are, that's exposed mechanical equipment in there.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I don't sit and stare at the ceiling. Makes sense.
So I think the ask is our recommendation for approvals on the previous bid tab, and then also approving the base bid is our recommendation for the asbestos abatement. of earth surfaces, the 102,010.
So approving these documents is a separate item than actually awarding the bids, right?
We awarding the
Is there,
There's
Two.
There's two
yeah,
different
yeah,
action
there's
items.
two action items,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. I was just trying to make sure I understand the difference.
Let's accept the bid.
Yeah, approving of the construction documents is merely an act of the board, and you're relying on your facility committee that's worked with the designers and the professionals throughout that to say, yes, this is what we want built. You've already had your public hearing, you've already had your referendums, you've already had your notices. Yes, these documents meet that requirement. So then you approve that, and then you can award contracts based upon the recommendation or at your will, I
Right.
guess.
Thank you
Great,
for
thank you.
explaining that.
Yeah, that helped.
That helps, yep. So we're looking at this action item D1, review and approval of construction documents as presented.
So we have reviewed it, we're ready for the approval, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I motion that we move to approve construction documents as presented.
Second.
Second by Greg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, next is action item D2, award of the bids as presented, or unless somebody would like to make any
He did.
suggestions.
I would say, I would move to award as presented. Do we wanna vote? 'Cause you're
Roll call
going to
vote.
abstain, so why don't we?
We can note that he's abstained too. if
Just
you
noted
want.
that
You know that.
Yeah, is that okay?
All right.
Just
Yeah.
I
Jim
don't care either
abstained,
way.
and then
Just
how many yeas?
Just wanted to,
Yeah,
I'm kind of
appreciate
doing a
that.
gentle reminder.
Yes.
Does the motion need to include the
Specifics?
rejection of one of the pieces of it, or is that part of the motion?
That would be included, we're recommending to approve the 4 packages and reject the 1.
I think we should make it a little harder if we could.
And the Shive Hatterley, correct?
So we're talking bid package A, bid package B, bid package C, bid package D,
Reject
no,
E.
reject E, and then the bid package on Shive Hattery, company that's doing
For
this.
the base bid.
That's
The
clear.
earth services.
Services.
Okay, who wants to say that?
Heavens, yes, I do.
I kind of already
Oh, you,
did it, so.
Okay, then I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay.
Greg.
Yeah.
And then we got Jade on the second, and notice that I am not going to vote here.
Thank you.
So we'll just take a voice vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, that resolution carried. Next we have on the, anything else, or should we go
nope,
to the
nope, agenda,
adjournment?
and then I'll bring it afterwards. or something.
Okay, okay. Next on the agenda is the adjournment.
So moved.
I knew it.
So moved. And who's got the second?
We're pretty predictable.
I'll second.
We got Joe seconding. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Thank you all.
Jake's gonna motion to adjourn, someone's going to make fun of Jake. That's our meeting.